Yo, how you doing, everybody? Another show, another Thursday, another great day to be in here. I would like to say we have two special guests here from the Mobile Crisis Hotline and the Teen Talk Hotline, Elissa and Christine. Everybody say, how you doing?
How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing really well, thank you.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Before we start, I want to let everybody know that they can call at Montco Radio 215-619-7366. Once again, it's 215-619-7366. So, young ladies are ready?
Yes.
Whatever one would like to go first, you are more than welcome.
Okay, where would you like us to start?
Talk a little bit about yourself,
My name is Elissa. I've worked at Access Services for a little over a year and a half. I started off working in Mobile Crisis, and now I run the Teen Talk line, which is a warm line where teenagers can talk to other teenagers, because teenagers certainly don't want to talk to adults, about what's going on in their life. And the Teen Talk line is available to all Montgomery County residents from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay. Okay. Is there something else you would like to say, or that's just it?
What else can I tell you? Mobile Crisis was quite a, I want to say, invigorating experience. You never know what's going on from day to day. You never know what you're going to find yourself being surrounded with, going into people's homes and schools and police stations and hospitals, and just out in the community, even at Starbucks. So It's any type of mental health crisis in the county, or anyone who's in the county having a mental health crisis.
Okay.
And the number for Mobile Crisis is 855-634-4673.
Okay.
And that's a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week line. You'll always get a live person.
Okay. Christine, would you like to say something?
Absolutely. So my name is Christine, and I have been with Access Services for about 7 months. And the two programs that I can talk about are our Homeless Street Outreach Program, which started actually last October, so we're approaching almost a year, and our Justice Related Services Program, which started over a year and a half ago. I've been lucky enough to be a part of both of those programs. The Homeless Street Outreach Program is for Montgomery County residents who are experiencing literal street homelessness. I'm not going to kind of bog you down with all of the definitions and criterias of that right now, but they really are getting in the street. We're climbing under bridges. We're engaging with people where they're at. We're helping them to be homeless better while they're kind of waiting to go through that housing process and get into shelter. Justice-related services is a forensic case management program, which is fancy words or clinical words for a program that is engaging with individuals with serious mental illness diagnoses who also have forensic involvement that are Montgomery County residents.
Okay.
So any given day, we can probably have up to, 5 to 6 case managers who are in Montgomery County Correctional Facility, working with individuals, problem solving with them, game planning with them, providing them with resources, understanding what their goals are when they re-enter the community, so that transition is kind of more seamless as much as possible, because we definitely know it's not an easy transition. And then we stay working with those individuals while they're in the community. That requirement of forensic involvement is really important, because that's where our case managers are kind of trained. We work in the adult probation office, as well as just the community in general. So yeah, we're just trying to get in and meet people where they're at in general. I can say Access Services, and Elissa kind of touched on this as well, as we are trained in engaging with people and meeting them where they're at physically, mentally, emotionally, kind of all of those layers and all of those dynamics is definitely a strength of Access.
Okay, that's good. So if y'all don't mind me asking, what made y'all decide to get into this type of field? Like, was it something when y'all was younger, or y'all just...
I have a funny story.
Okay.
So I had moved to California to become a talent agent.
Yeah.
And I worked at a talent agency out there. And working in that business, everyone was a little bit not right in some kind of way. And I decided I would get a master's in psychology.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's how I could really
wow.
help people.
Yeah.
Not by, helping them get jobs as actors or actresses or directors, but, I've always wanted to help people, so that was the way I decided to get to do it.
Okay.
Wow.
For me, I was joking earlier with Jen that I have been in this field for about 5 years. I was a drug and alcohol dual diagnosis therapist before I got into what I'm currently doing. This life chose me. Everybody my whole entire life told me that I should be a therapist, and I was a little kid who my mom would tell me not to do something, like put my hand down on the stove. That was the very first thing that I did, always.
Yep.
So I liked pushing that envelope as much as possible. And so when everybody told me to be a therapist, said I was going to be a physical therapist, took my first counseling class, fell in love with it. It was also, luckily, easier for me to kind of understand. So I just kind of fell into it from there. But I think the life chose me. I've informally been doing it for 28 years, because that's how old I am. But I have formally been doing it, or at least getting paid for it, for the last 5.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
good. That's good.
It takes like a certain type of person to do the stuff that you guys do, work with the people you work with. How do you separate those emotions and feelings from your work life to your personal life? Because that has to be hard.
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
Absolutely.
On paper, I would like to say that we can do that all of the time, 100% of the time. And the reality of the situation is those of us who are passionate about the field and good in the field, it's not perfect every single day. There's absolutely going to be some people that weigh heavier on your heart, or the people that are going to kind of keep you up at night worrying about them. I think the best that we can do is kind of fulfilling our lives in other ways and making sure that we're working out those passions. Right. Self-care is huge, which is like Elissa's thing, is wellness and meditation and self-care. So I'm sure she's going to talk about that, but it's being so intentional and doing that when you're having a good day, because it's really hard to do it on a bad day if you haven't practiced it on an actual good day.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely. So, yes, I'm a meditator. I'm a certified yoga instructor, although I haven't been doing as much yoga recently as I would like. But most days I either do yoga or meditate, and I find...
Hold on. We have a caller. Hold on. Hello, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air.
Somebody at home.
Can you talk more about the Teen Talk line?
I think we have one of the listeners from the Teen Talk line. Maybe we want to ask them what their experience is working on the Teen Talk line.
Maybe we want to ask them what they're echoing.
Hello? Hello? Somebody's there. You still hear them. Hello?
Well, I can tell you till they get back to us. Maybe they're not there.
Yeah.
So they are teens who give of themselves in a really amazing way, in that they want to be there for other teens. They go through an extensive training program. There's a 20-hour training program that they've gone through to be able to answer the line. They learn about problem solving, active listening, motivational interviewing, and all different content areas that kids deal with. They're also QPR trained, which is a suicide prevention program. Question, Persuade, Refer, which actually Access Services also provides free QPR training to Montgomery County residents. So if anybody would be interested in having a training, they could contact us and we could set up a training. Christine and I are actually doing a training 2 weeks from tomorrow at Sit Meditation Studio in Lafayette Hill at 7 p.m. And that's open to the public, to anyone who would like to attend for free. But back to the kids, they not only go through training, they do role plays, they are there for each other, to support each other when there's some hard calls. And we're lucky also because we have Mobile Crisis as a backup if someone who calls is like eminently suicidal,
Okay.
we would pass that off to crisis.
Okay.
Because they're equipped to handle that.
Okay.
Wow.
For the both of you, if y'all wasn't in this field, what field would you think y'all would be in?
I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. I honestly, I always joke with people. I mean, at the time, it's probably not a joke because usually individuals that I'm talking to are escalated in the moment. So I try to use it as a skill to de-escalate in that moment. And I tell them about all the ways that like we can kind of help and de-escalate the crisis. And they're like, well, if I wasn't crazy, the amount of times I hear that, and it breaks my heart to hear that come out of somebody's mouth. You know, if I wasn't crazy, then you would be out of a job, and you don't want that. And I always look at the person, you know, square in the eye, and I say, I would gladly scoop ice cream for the rest of my life if it meant that you didn't have to talk to somebody like me ever again. And so I guess maybe I'd be an ice cream scooper professionally if I wasn't in this field.
I don't know. I think you have a lot of other talents that you could find
Thank you,
something else to do other than scooping ice cream. I think you should think about it while I give my answer. So I could be teaching yoga, but that's still real. So I think I would have gone into computers and like done. My brother's in computer security, and I think I would have done something like that had I not gone into a helping profession.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
It's interesting, Elissa, because it's still fixing things.
It's keeping things from getting broken.
Right. I dig it.
I guess I should also say, I don't even know if Christine knows this about me. Before I went to school for psychology, before I moved to California, I went to law school.
Oh.
I did not know that.
So, I mean, maybe in another lifetime I could
I don't
practice
know.
law.
I don't know if I'm having some trouble. I might call you. I might have to call you.
That'd be quite all right.
For family members of people going through, whether it's just a breakdown or suicidal thoughts, or what kind of resources are there out there for them as well?
That's a great question. That is kind of the first kind of area that I try to tackle when I'm talking to a family member. Because if it's just kind of just one episode or one incidence of struggling with, if it's addiction or a mental health crisis, or it's kind of an ongoing thing that has just gone through cycles, I think it affects the whole family. It's a family disease. We especially hear that with addiction all the time. I think there are a ton of different resources, and that's something that we need to build up that family and support that family almost fearlessly, because they're the ones who, when the person is healthy again, can be the game changers in keeping them healthy moving forward. I think there's a handful of kind of free and or like nonprofit organizations. So there's NAMI, which helps the family members of individuals who are struggling with mental illness. There's also a bunch of Al-Anon and Nar-Anon. Alateen are things that help individuals with family members who are struggling with addiction. Individual therapy, family therapy, group therapy, self-care, like any form of just focusing on yourself, because if you're not well as a person, you're not going to be able to help someone else. It's like that face mask, right? When we're on airplanes, it's like you got to put that mask on first to be able to better help and care for and love that individual who is struggling with a little bit of brokenness inside of them in that moment.
Okay.
Also, if someone is dealing with depression or bipolar disorder, there's a really amazing support group in Abington called New Directions. They have a group for not only people who have depression or bipolar, but also a separate family group to talk to other family members and learn from them as well.
Okay. We're going to go to break right now. The song next is going to be Tim McGraw, Humble and Kind. Take your time and listen to it, and here we go. Okay, everybody, we're back. We're back. I would like to say for people who want to call, the Montco radio number is 215-619-7366. Don't mind me. My head is hurting. Once again, my number is the number is 215-619-7366. So we're back with Christine and Elissa. Anything else y'all would like to talk about?
Yeah, I was going to say you were also asking about family members and for people looking for support.
Yeah.
And we have the Access Services under Mobile Crisis also has a warm line for adults.
Okay.
Called the Peer Support Talk Line.
Yeah.
And certified peer specialists who have their own lived experience of mental health or addiction answer phones and talk to other people 1 to 9 p.m. every day of the week. And our peers are amazing. We have people who call every day just to check in, let us know how they're doing, and there's new callers all the time. And people can just talk about anything.
Okay. I was wondering, I wanted to ask y'all this question. Like, besides, like, well, we know a lot of people that's out there struggling right now. But if it, like, what would you say if a person right now is, like, struggling and they feel like they can't go to their family and they feel, like, hopeless, like, they feel like, oh, I burnt my bridges with my family, and, you know, the family is probably there, like, wanting to, you know, help take care of them. But what would you say to them without them enabling them? You know what I mean?
Is this to the individual or to the family?
I'm saying to the right now for the individual. Like, what would you say to an individual if they want to reach out but they feel like, you know, there's nowhere else to go? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
So what would y'all say?
Usually that comes from a place of, and I think you said it too, like hopelessness and helplessness. And so I think that the first thing that I would want someone to say to me if I was in that situation is you matter. Right? And it's very basic and very simple, but just you matter. So being able to kind of build that confidence up and support and kind of rally around that person emotionally so that can happen. Some people don't have supportive families. If it's because they potentially burnt that bridge or it's one of the reasons why they're struggling with the things that they are in that moment. I always like to bring up a concept called a family of choice. And so some of us are lucky and the, biological family that we are born into is supportive most days, right?
Yeah.
Supportive and loving and kind and resilient. And then other people aren't necessarily as lucky with those things. And so you can build your own family, your own network of choice, which can be friends, it can be religious leaders, it can be professional supports. It can be kind of whoever that is. You can find it in a meeting, a 12-step meeting in the rooms. You can find it through the community, things of that nature. So just being able to build that confidence and start to trust that relationship.
I am in complete agreement, and especially want to highlight what you said about the rooms, support groups, whether they be 12-step or mental health support groups, are an amazing place if you don't have biological family support to go to get that support. And I like to call your family of choice your heart family.
Okay. Yes, but see, because for me, like, I lost my mom in 2008.
Wow.
Like, she passed away in front of me, and it was like,
Wow.
I felt like, I just really started drinking a lot more, and, it really, like, messed me up. And at that point, I didn't have nobody to come to me and say, well, call Mobile Crisis or call this number or call this number, and they should be able to help you with that. But I never had that when I was growing up. So,
And I come from the exact opposite. I have parents that are very involved. I have a mom that works somewhat in the field. And they've always been there, very, very, very resilient. But I definitely ended up blessed in that way. Definitely.
Yeah.
And they are listening right now.
Oh, good. Hi, Mom and Dad. I think part of it too is just is the individual's willingness to accept help. That's a tough thing, and for people who do follow 12 steps and the 12-step program, it's the willingness, admitting defeat from the use and the substance, and being willing to accept help. And that's not an easy thing. Most days I'm relatively functioning and can get by like day to day in society. And and it's tough for me to ask for help, and I'm not necessarily in a crisis.
Yeah.
So that's something I think everybody struggles with, and really an area of expertise of access is being able to figure out like who actually needs help. Like, yes, we have to look at regulations and funding and all of that stuff, but if we take that off the table, which is what essentially our many tiers of leadership has been able to do,
Right.
how do we actually make sense of what people need? And so we look at that and we throw everything at the wall and we say like, here's the population that we want to work with. Here's what we want to do. And then we have multiple layers of support to be able to say, okay, well, how do we do that? How do we build a program around that? How do we get funding for that? How do we be good at that? Who do we need to pull in? Who do we need to loop in? And that definitely, and I've worked in Montgomery County. I've also worked in Delaware County.
Oh, wow.
And this is the program that feels like they actually do that.
Okay.
That they care on that level, not only about their employees, but also about the individuals that we're working with.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing agency compared to the 20 years in different places that I've worked, which are many. This is a real special place that feels like home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of research, with finding different people to reach out to for this show, and I read a lot, like, on Mobile Crisis and the Teen Talk Line. I wish there was one of those when I was a teenager, because my teenage years were, I was suicidal, and my parents literally said, all right, we're moving. You tell us what school district you want to go to, and that's where we'll move.
Wow.
And I had family in the North Penn School District, and they moved me there. You know what I mean? So I wish we had something like that. There seems like there's so many, like, really, really good services out now that weren't out 10 years ago. These kids and young adults are so lucky to have people like you and all these services. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
We're lucky to have the teens too, because a lot of them are also, a lot of the local high schools, these kids are starting their own mental health clubs or suicide prevention clubs
That's awesome.
in their schools. So with Sahikin right here,
Yeah.
PV has a teen talk line through with us that we do at their school, and we also go to Souderton as well.
Oh, okay.
So, and North Penn is actually, when you said North Penn, is starting a suicide prevention NAMI club.
Okay.
So with working with teenagers, because those are topics that you shouldn't even have to discuss, like suicide. I know that you have to, but it's just sad that those thoughts run. How do you approach those topics with, I know they're not kids, but technically to me
They're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
It's scary that I say kids.
Right.
But how do you...
I think the most important thing is letting them know that they can say anything and they're still going to be cared for and loved, no matter what. And letting them know that it's okay to answer a question in any way that they need to, and to be honest, and we're not going to kick them off the line or whatever, that we're there for them and we're there to help and support them through whatever.
Right. And for the volunteers, and again, Elissa can definitely talk more in depth about this, letting them know that they're not alone, and they have multiple layers of support. They're there as a volunteer just to almost be present, to listen. They're kind of trained and screened for their listening abilities, and so sometimes, like, at a very basic kind of primal level, that's all we need is just for someone to listen and actively listen and empathetically listen. And so we do partner with Mobile Crisis. If there's any sort of substance use or abuse kind of situations, they'll outreach to me about that if it has to deal with either a teen or potentially their parents or someone of that nature. So, like, we really support those volunteers so that they can then support the individuals who are calling or texting in.
Okay, sorry, we have to go to another commercial break. But next we listen to Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. And we'll be right back with the rest of the interview. Bye-bye. Hello, we're back. Make that change. But I was just sitting here and I was thinking, now, I know it's like, what is your worst, like, we have a caller. You're on the air.
keeps ringing.
You should tell them to turn down the radio.
Hello, turn on the radio.
Hi.
Hi.
I just have a question about the Teen Talk line.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, we're listening.
We want to know what a normal call would be like. Like, what do people normally text or call about?
Good question.
So teens call, well, they actually usually text. They don't usually call the Teen Talk line. It's much more rare that we get phone calls these days. We mostly get texts.
Okay.
And people text about fighting with their parents, relationship issues, being depressed, sometimes being suicidal. Sometimes a lot of teens just want to have somebody to talk to, or talk about their friends, but not to their friends.
Yeah.
So those are the majority of calls. We had one texter who texted in about their parent being an alcoholic and what they could do, which is a really hard call because teens are not in a position to be able to make changes, not even that other adults can make a change for another adult if that adult isn't willing to take responsibility for themselves. But as a kid, it's even harder to watch that.
Yeah, so the question I was asking is like when y'all what are y'all more satisfied with? Is it the everyday saving of lives, or is it helping somebody from harming themselves, or what is like the big thing there?
There are a lot of different pieces that I get to do that are fulfilling.
Okay.
Besides working with the teens, which is amazing, helping them, the volunteers, to develop skills and tools and coping strategies so that they're going to be the best adults that they can be and the best people that they can be. That's amazing. I help out on the peer support talk line, answering the phone and listening to those people, the people who call every day and you kind of follow their lives. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And crisis, when, a mother says to you, thank you, you just saved my son's life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky I get to do a lot of different things.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
I would just piggyback off of that and just the little victories, the smile, the moment of kind of a minute to take a breath during a mental health crisis with someone, being able to slow it down for them just enough to be able to have like a break from whatever's going on and whatever's plaguing them in the moment, I think I can't measure that.
Yeah.
It just really, it recharges all those batteries. And Jen, you asked earlier, like, what do we do to take care of ourselves? And it's definitely a fine line and something that we need to hold ourselves accountable to and each other kind of in this profession in general, but just being able to almost be recharged from the work that we do. Like I can say that there right now, which I'm lucky for, is there's not one single day that I'm not doing something, at least one thing, if not everything, that I'm super passionate about, and that's what keeps me in the field.
Okay.
I just want to add another piece is helping our coworkers, the people who work for us, developing people, helping them to develop us into better people is pretty incredible. Because when you share an experience with someone that's really intense, there's a closeness that comes from that doesn't happen in other jobs.
Okay.
I once went to a home where a coworker and I ended up with bed bugs.
Wow.
I will never forget that.
Wow.
We didn't. So they were on us. We got them off, and we went to the laundromat, and they didn't end up in my home. But like anything can happen in crisis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I just want y'all to know y'all doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you.
With the Teen Talk line and the Access Crisis, both of y'all doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I have a question about your, program that takes part in the jail.
Yes. Justice-related services.
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of situations do you come across there? Like,
Every situation we come across.
Yeah.
Just about.
What kind? I guess I'm trying. What kind of help do they need? Like, what do you do to help prepare them for when they return to society? And how do you get them started? Or
Yeah, great questions. It definitely is all kind of based on the individual and what their needs are. I think on a primary level, like we're just building a relationship with people for starters, because we know that connection is something that's going to support them dramatically when they're back into the community. From there, we're assessing like what are your goals once you re-enter? Is it to obtain employment? Do you have a place to live outside of here? Are you working to resolve your forensic issues or your legal involvement? Like, what do you want to do for fun? What hobbies do you have? Things of that nature. And so we learn all of that while working with the individuals within MCCF. And then we kind of just continue to piggyback off of that. We have great days and we have not so great days.
Right.
We have a team of almost 10 case managers right now that we use in a team delivered approach where we're working to really set people up for the best success that we possibly can, because again, and I joked earlier, is it takes a village, right?
It does.
It definitely does. And so if we have an individual that we're engaging with really only comfortable with one case manager, then we're cutting off their limbs as far as how to utilize services and how to really be successful in the community where we need that village. And so we start that kind of at that basic level. We can help people actually find housing if they don't have that, or move to a safer environment if maybe there's substance use or violence kind of back in that area. And then we also just help them with ongoing legal issues. So if they have a probation or parole officer, we're there for that. We have a clinical coordinator who's actually in adult probation in the Norristown office.
Okay.
I think it's 2 half days a week. They're attending behavioral health court. We partner with behavioral health court, which is a treatment team court. We do it all. We just and at a primary kind of core level, like we care.
Yeah.
And we're all passionate about it, so it works out.
Same question for you, but for the juveniles.
the juvenile.
I mean, you know what I mean, like not juvenile,
The
teens.
teens.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So I have the opportunity and luxury of training the kids, of overseeing them, of supervising them, of going out to schools and talking to guidance counselors and staff about the volunteer opportunity on the hotline, as well as the opportunity for teens to call in.
Yeah.
I get to do a lot of trainings. We're very into suicide prevention. A number of us last night went to a movie called The Ripple Effect, which is the Kevin Hines story.
Okay.
Really powerful about how suicide can ripple in negative ways, right, to lots of different people, but also people who are a force for change can ripple into the community positivity.
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
heard about that.
Yeah, and I think that just going on that ripple effect analogy, I think that that's what we hope that we do in our work, right? That we make these little ripples that go out and make bigger changes over time in lots of people's lives, and the people that we affect, by hopefully training these teens, they're going to go on. We have teens who already want to work in social services, and they know that
good.
they want to do that.
Yeah, that's good.
They get an opportunity to sit in their training with Mobile Crisis for lunch and ask Mobile Crisis questions, which I think was one of their favorite parts, besides the
good,
pizza.
Pizza come first. I forgot my train of thought.
You forgot. All right. Well, while you're thinking about your train of thought, I have a good question. Sorry.
I think all of them have been good so
They
far.
have all been good questions.
So working with people, sometimes they do want the help, but they can either be, I don't want to say stubborn, but maybe stubborn, but also maybe don't know how to accept help,
Yeah.
and maybe not as open-minded, say, as other people. How do you open those people up or work with those people to help them become more, say, optimistic, or, can view things in a different way?
So we get a lot of training in being person-centered in motivational interviewing and meeting people where they are. There's something called stages of change, and some people are in pre-contemplation. They're not ready. And just being with them in the stage that they're at hopefully plants a seed so that when they are ready, they know we're there. The person-centered approach is really empowering to the person that you're going to be with them where they are. And if they're not ready for the help, that's okay.
Right.
And to let them know we're here if and when you are. And how can we help you with where you are?
Right.
And sometimes with harm reduction or
Yep.
something else.
Yeah. And that relationship piece and that rapport piece is being able to have that tough conversation with someone once they're in a place where they can trust you enough. Being able to say, like, I'm hearing you say this thing, but I'm also hearing you say this thing.
Yeah.
And they're disconnected. I'm hearing that you say that you want help with being able to move out on your own, but then I'm also seeing you spend all of your money every single time your check comes in. Help me understand what's going on. Jen, I saw you smile at that. Similar story?
No, but I've heard it before
Here we
or
go.
seen it. But
We have a guest. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just calling to say that I'm a huge fan of the Team Talk line, and I just wanted to ask the two people here, just how's your day going?
I had the best day today. I got to be with the teens. I got to be with the peers. I got to be here. I got to be with Christine. It's
Took the
like
words right out of my mouth.
it's like I have a great life.
Yeah,
There we
ditto.
go. I'm glad to hear.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
asking.
for all that you do.
Thank you.
sounds like
a
you
good
guys
one.
have some fans.
Yep.
We paid them.
Well, let me know how I can become a part of that.
All right, y'all. We're about to go to a commercial and put another song on. Sarah, Gravity. Yeah, hello, we're back. So Christine wanted to talk to us about a little bit more.
Yep.
You're on.
So I have been blessed enough and lucky enough to also be brought onto the Access team for the Delaware Valley as the drug and alcohol consultant. And so I intentionally use the word blessed because I think I simultaneously worked really hard and have been afforded some really great, kind of lucky opportunities to be able to do that. And so I was able to have the privilege to train with the teens for a little over an hour, which I'm going to give a shameless plug for them. They are passionate and intelligent and curious, which is a positive kind of combination for somebody that we want to be in this field, and kind of a crew to be supporting us at Access. They ask me great questions. I will consult on any sort of mobile crisis situation that's involving drug and alcohol, where they kind of need to engage me from there. I help out with individuals who need to get into a higher level of care through the JRS or Justice Related Services system, and kind of anywhere from there. I'm going to start to do some trainings or more regular trainings for the Delaware Valley region in general, because that's as much as it's my passion to be able to work with the forensic system. It's what I did as an individual and group therapist. I was the drug court liaison for Delaware County for a little while.
Wow.
I'm very passionate about the substance use and abuse population. I luckily am blessed again that I don't struggle with an addiction myself, and so I've been welcomed into the recovery community despite that fact, which is a privilege that I hope to never lose kind of in that. So yeah, I get to do that, which is a huge passion trigger for me.
And
Yep.
she does it really well.
Thank you, Elissa.
Yeah, both of these two need a raise.
We also paid him to say that.
Yeah, I got paid. But like, do y'all feel like with the addiction part that y'all have to deal with the mental health part of it too as well?
I could say like there is not like one situation where it's not dual diagnosis. Even if it's a temporary mental health diagnosis or something that's caused from use. I've never met a person, and I hope never to meet a person who says like, well, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a drug addict. Right?
never
Or I
gonna hear
wanted
that.
to be an alcoholic, right? So nobody's lives ever you never choose to go down that path. You're always getting away or escaping to something. It doesn't necessarily have to start for a negative reason. We see a lot of people who start using due to trauma, and just life is hard.
Yeah.
So it can feel easier to escape from that. But we also see people who struggle with addiction because they want to just kind of have an out-of-body experience, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be negative things that happen, but
Right.
what is guaranteed to happen when you are struggling with addiction is you will inflict trauma onto yourself.
Right.
If it's because of legal involvement, if it's because of physical trauma that you might experience from using too much or being in that situation. And so I think those two things aren't separated. And
No,
I
definitely.
think we're just seeing dual diagnosis kind of everywhere nowadays. So I don't think that you can find one without the other.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about that. Like, you always got to take care of one with the other.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can't do one, then you still going to have to go back and do another. But really wouldn't make any sense unless you just do them both.
Right.
Right.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly. You know what I mean?
You know?
I know for me, when I was a teenager, I had a lot of depression, but then I actually ended up getting my wisdom teeth out and got an abscess and got
Yeah.
addicted to painkillers. But then I realized that that takes away all my problems. So it was kind of like
For
a
a minute.
snowball effect. Right, exactly. But it was like, that was like almost like the answer I was looking for, and then it just ended up, being a whole bad situation. But now at the point of where I am, I don't regret anything because I am where I am and I'm happy at this point. Do you know what I mean?
I think that is beautiful.
Even though it sucked and I walked into a lot of walls, but
Yeah, you wouldn't be you if you
Right.
hadn't gone through all of that. And you wouldn't. I always hate when people say, like, I'm really glad that happened to me when we're talking about crappy situations.
Right.
I'm really glad that happened. No,
Yeah.
we're never glad that happened, but you can find meaning through it.
Right.
And Jen, that sounds like exactly what you've done
Yeah.
just based off of that.
Yeah. That's
Definitely.
how. That's why that's like a little bit of my story. Like, I just have a lot of I had a lot of things like trauma happen in my life, and I just thought I could drink it away.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballed, and then I ended up losing everything, being homeless, and then
Yeah.
picking myself back up again. With the grace of God and being grateful.
Yeah.
Now I'm sober and I'm happy. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I never thought that I would be happy without drinking.
Right.
And now that I see that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so
Something
do-
else, just to add to that, something else
Okay.
that I typically hear, kind of just with the population in general, is people say, like, I just want to go back to where I was before all this started, and I want to go back. I want to be that person again. And I always really like to challenge that again, because you wouldn't be you anymore if you
Exactly.
hadn't. So let's find a new version of you,
Yeah.
like lived experience, everything, the ups and the downs. Like, you just get to be a better version of you now that you've
Right.
gone through that. So stop saying you want to be that person again.
Right.
You're not going to be that person again. Let's get you to the new and improved version
Right.
of yourself, having more experiences in
you
your
can
life.
never go backwards. But actually, if I think about it, I would never want to be who I was before
Yeah.
because I was not happy. Like, I can today honestly look in the mirror and be happy for the first time probably my whole life and actually mean it.
Yeah. There's no better feeling.
Yep.
And I'm thinking that you're both a lot stronger than you were before,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
right?
I'm
It gives you a strength of character, of emotion, of person
Yeah.
that you can't get not having been through stuff. I mean, everybody's got their stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
It's all just different stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's all relative, right, to what we've experienced. So it's hard to even measure trauma, like in comparison from one person to the next, because trauma is how we experience it as the individual. And so it could be, another silly example. I blame it on the fact that I'm a therapist at heart. But if the worst pain that you've ever experienced was a broken arm, and your counterpart, they broke their leg. Logically, if we see them standing next to each other, a broken leg, you're on crutches, you might have to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Takes longer, depends on what bones, things of that nature. Like, we can judge without actually seeing what the situation
Right.
is, that broken leg appears to be more of a trauma, but pain is pain, and we all have kind of our own measures for that. And so to judge it from that outside looking in doesn't really make sense. And what if the person is an artist and it's the hand that they
Right.
use to be able to create their masterpiece?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's really all relative. So it's really hard to not meet that person where they're at if you're actually trying to engage them and help them and create that change.
Yeah.
Right, definitely. I actually want to touch on the homeless aspects that you said that you guys are
Yeah.
doing now. That's new services.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, our homeless street outreach team is fantastic, and we're looking to hire someone, just in case. Shameless plug again. Somebody
Including
good.
to people in the room.
Hey,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Somebody's listening, so you never know. Somebody's listening. You know what I mean?
So we have 5 staff who are in the community. Essentially, what happened is we work through kind of the housing, the Pennsylvania Housing National HUD
Right.
program. There's Your Way Home, which is a fantastic program that helps with managing shelters within Montgomery County, as well as rapid rehousing, things of that nature. And so there all of a sudden was this need. They realized that there were shelters and that we can't necessarily end homelessness in Montgomery County. And so how do we engage that population and not lose them moving forward?
Yeah.
And that's where the street outreach team essentially was born from. And so these individuals, we quite literally walk the streets, climb under bridges, things of that nature, go to local community places, build community resources and relationships from there, so that we are getting to the homeless individuals who don't have access to phones and don't have kind of that resource and that connection. For individuals who are struggling with homelessness that do have access to those things, they can dial 211 from any phone, a landline, things of that nature. They'll get connected to a Your Way Home operator and then be kind of navigated through that system. It's kind of like a funnel system.
Yeah.
If you're confirmed literally street homeless, which means that you are living in a place that's uninhabitable for humans.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like stereotypical, you're sleeping on park benches, in abandoned buildings, in your car, kind of things of that nature. That's when Access Services Homeless Street Outreach Team engages. I mentioned earlier, it's how we be homeless better, right,
Yeah.
as a community. And so we confirm them literally street homeless. We will provide them, or we've done just about everything.
Yeah.
From sleeping bags to tents to cold water. That's a huge commodity,
Yeah.
kind of a needed commodity. Fruit, oddly enough, individuals who are struggling with that will constantly crave that, especially something that's hard to get, like a banana, because it smushes easily. So yes, we walk around with granola bars and water bottles and things of that nature, but even just being able to have those things that are in season, super important for individuals. And then we hang out with them for their homeless journey until I think it's about a week or so into them being housed, or them going into emergency shelter, or them self-resolving in general. We just kind of partner through that process and create as many warm handoffs as we can.
So how does that work for the teens?
The teens are not involved in street outreach.
Okay.
It's a separate program. The teens actually, though, did get to meet a number of the street outreach workers.
Okay.
And were really moved by a lot of their stories. The people who do street outreach are incredible people
Okay.
with really big hearts and really strong, smart minds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to break again. We got POD, Youth of the Nation. All right, we're back on the air. What a night. Beautiful interview today, y'all. Very, very good interview today.
Very informative.
Yeah, very informative.
Thank you.
Yeah, y'all some great people, and I like what y'all do, you know, for the people that need help, whether it's mental health, addiction, dual diagnosis, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm very grateful that there's people out there like y'all, and, you know, where y'all work at, stuff like that, because, like I was saying, it was hard when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a lot harder. They didn't, like, broadcast it, like, well, we have this place, you know, or this is the number you can call if you. So it's just, you know what I mean? I'm just glad that people, can reach out now.
Yeah.
It's a grateful thing.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think part of it too is, and we're seeing a shift in society in general, but I can kind of talk about it, is that access services normalizes the conversations that are difficult to have. So we don't shy away from the conversation that says, you seem like you're high right now. How do we help you?
Right.
We've met you X amount of times in this situation. Like, are you going to let us help you out this time?
Or Christine and I, for example, could have potentially gone into a home where we said to a woman who said to us, I want to have a drink while I'm in conversation with you. And we said, we're not going to be able to stay if you drink right now.
Yeah. And she was able to kind of maintain within
for a
that
little
moment,
bit.
which she was struggling with a pretty severe symptom of addiction within that moment. And so just her being able to tolerate that pain of not drinking during that exact situation was, kind of evidence of, like, if you show up for people and you care about people, they're willing to work for you as well.
Wow, that's incredible. Man, I did lose what my question was. It's okay. It's okay.
You lose
I can
everything.
also tell you that is Street Outreach hiring? You
Street
said that,
Outreach
yes?
is hiring, yes.
And I think Mobile Crisis is also hiring.
And
so-
JRS is hiring.
Right, so there's definitely a lot of opportunities available at Access Services for anyone out there who's looking to make a difference in people's lives and work somewhere that they can be proud of what they do every day.
Right, and that's what we have. Like, all of these lines that we have are individuals who are sometimes younger in the field or newer to the field, and Access really does a fantastic job of caring and nurturing and growing and figuring out and asking, like, what are you passionate about? How do we get you that here, and how do we either move you up through this company, or how do we get you onto your master's program, or how do we get you on to the next thing that, I knock on wood, can say that the people who have left, and the reason why there's turnover, and I can't say this about necessarily every single agency that's out there, but Access is able to, like, we see people leave for the right reasons. We see people leave because they are going and doing things, or going back to school, or something of that nature. So they really do a fantastic job of investing in their employees.
In the growth of people and training people and letting people go to trainings and tuition reimbursement. And
Yep. Mileage
Every which
reimbursement.
So let me ask y'all a question. With Access, like, when y'all help people,
Yes.
like, do y'all, like, help with, like, schooling or stuff like that? Like, how does that
employees
work?
or-
Yeah, for, like, employees, like, if they wanted to, like, work, but then, like, they didn't have, like, an education, and, like, do y'all, like, help them out?
So there is tuition reimbursement to some extent, not like full tuition, but there is tuition reimbursement. There's encouragement to go back to school for people. There's, if you want to do a training in something, people are really supportive and can pay for you to do that through the company. There's also a program, not in Montgomery County, but in Bucks County, called TIP, which is not for the employees, but it helps transition-aged youth with achieving their goals, transition-aged youth with mental health issues. So it can be finding housing, finding a job, getting education, socialization. So
We need that here.
there is a TIP program in Montgomery County. It's just run through
Okay.
Central.
Oh, you gotta go to
Oh,
Central.
okay.
If anybody want to call in, I forgot to get the number out so many times, but the number is 215-619-7366. Once again, the number is 215-619-7366. I'm just here having a great conversation, so I forgot all about the number.
I'm
So,
kind of
but-
spaced out and, like, listening and
Well, stop being
taking
spaced.
it all in.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, y'all heard it here first.
Do you want me to give out the numbers again for our different lines, or will you be
Yeah.
able to post those to your Facebook page?
You can do that as
Or
well, but
both?
if you'd
Let's
like
do
to give
both.
them out, that'd be
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, we could do them on our Facebook pages too.
Okay, so the mobile crisis number is like ingrained in my head, 855-634-4673, and that's 24/7. The peer support talk line, their call line is 855-715-8255. Their text line is 267-225-7785, and they are open 7 days a week from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the teen talk line open from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Their text number, which is probably most important, is 215-703-8411, or you can call 866-825-5856. There's also the Teen Talk line on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there as well.
Okay.
I do have a question. So, in an unfortunate situation where there may be loss, where can you recommend people to go to, or are there groups, or how do you deal with it?
There's a number of different places. The one place that's close to here that we recommend is there's the Center for Bereavement in Skippack.
Okay.
The other resource is not coming to me off the top of my head. Do you know other loss resources?
So I think there are a bunch of different types or kind of levels. Again, I think anytime that group therapy or kind of support groups through that, as well as individual kind of grief counseling is always super important. A lot of insurances will cover it with a minimal copay, things of that nature. If you really just Google,
Right.
kind of like grief group, or you can even say like free, things of that nature, it will inevitably come up. And if you're experiencing that kind of very intensely, the numbers that Elissa just provided are going to help with those things. Like you can call somebody and just say like, I lost fill in the blank, and I don't know exactly what to do now, because that is a crisis, right? And it might not be a crisis to the extent of needing emergency services to go out, or even needing a mobile crisis person to be mobile kind of in your home in that situation, but maybe it's just somebody that you need to talk to.
Yeah, all of our programs provide resources.
Okay.
They have extensive resource books that they can look up things and the internet and like that. Also, many churches and hospitals have support groups for grief.
Okay.
Okay. Wonderful. God, I'm stuck on that thought.
I can actually jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we did just talk about some recent openings that we have within our agency. We're also always looking for families to be able to host individuals for respite. So that means like if a kid or an adult is kind of struggling in the environment that they're currently in, it goes through a certification process, definitely something that's easy to look up as well. But we are looking for safe households and really that kind of safe people, right,
Yeah.
in every way that are willing to welcome somebody who's in a certain level of crisis, right? A much watered down one that we're not looking into a higher level of care,
Right.
but maybe just need a little bit of a break, a respite
Yeah.
from whatever's going on in their home or kind of within them as a person. And so we are always looking for families and things of that nature. Those host families also get compensated for that.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily just have to be charity, but we like it to be coming from a heart of charity,
Yeah.
right? Because then we're finding the right people in there. But you do get compensated
And
for that.
people have to be really special people. And I know that they're out there listening to you for sure, to be able to invite people into their home. It's for respite as well as for foster care.
Okay.
So, it could be for a day, it could be for a week, it could be for a longer period of time. The respite one, sometimes it's just like a planned weekend for someone to get away from their family when it's a really difficult situation.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah,
Sometimes that can be the best thing for you.
right.
Okay, back to the music again. I know it seemed like we go to break every 5 minutes, but no, it's not. So we got Lean on Me by Kurt Franklin. Hello, we're back again. We're about to end the show. So is there anything y'all would like to say, or, is there anything y'all want to put out there?
It goes by really fast.
It does, don't it?
And that
Seem
was
like
an
it.
hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
I think just in general, thank you. Kind of any opportunity that we get to speak about what we're passionate about, and again, kind of normalizing that conversation about the needs that we have as a society and how we as a community member are all responsible for that, really just helps with that message and kind of helps promote that wellness as a community. And so we're just very grateful that you guys were, first of all, so kind, but willing to kind of invite us into this process with you.
Well, I just want y'all to know that it was very grateful to have y'all here. I'm pretty sure people learned a lot. I got people texting me saying that they learned stuff that they didn't never know about it.
That's awesome.
So I mean, all the insights y'all gave was very good, and wish I could have y'all on it. I wish y'all would come back and do it again sometime.
We'd be happy
Happily.
to, yeah. And anything anybody missed about Access Services, accessservices.org is our website.
Okay.
And all the programs are on there.
All right.
And you can get in touch with either of us through the main number through
Yep.
there.
Okay. I would like to say to everybody, we'll be back here again next week, same LaMizzle time, same LaMizzle channel. Just want to say thank you again for
Yes,
them.
thank you.
And I also would like to put out there that for people who need help, who's afraid to ask for it, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. You heard what they said today, like what Christine and Alicia said. Alicia, right? Elissa, sorry. Elissa said today, and just if you need help, don't be ashamed, don't be afraid. You're not the first, and you won't be the last.
Perfect.
Don't put yourself in a predicament where you feel like you're hurting yourself, or just call up crisis, call up teen hotline, whatever y'all feel like y'all need. And if it's for the parents, I mean, there's programs for y'all too to go to. And we already put them on the air, but I'm gonna put it on my my Facebook thing, my Facebook page, and so y'all can also, it's always more than one way to be able to get help. So
Yeah.
don't feel like you're alone, because you're not alone. And before I let the show go, I just want to know they got one more song put on there named for Pinky Perfect.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.